All right, parents, here we go again. It's the Ask Dr. Tony episode. This is the Experience Miracles podcast, and I'm your host, Dr. Tony Ebel, an expert in pediatrics, neurodevelopmental disorders, and drug-free, nervous system-focused healthcare. On this weekly episode, I'll be addressing the top questions on every parent's mind. If there's one thing we love and welcome, it's parents who never stop learning, asking the hard questions, and advocating for your kiddos like none other. So get ready for some real talk, real-life clinical and parenting experience, and real easy to understand answers that will help your family take action and get to that next level of health and healing. You ask, I answer. Let's dive into today's episode. Unfortunately, we have more chronic illness, more autism, more ADHD, more anxiety, more autoimmune challenges in today's world than ever before, which also means we have more of this controversial, really shouldn't be, but is, conversation around, is it right to diagnose, to label these children with autism, with ADHD, with fill in the blank, whatever condition. The truth is there's 4 positive benefits to a diagnosis, and it's a really good thing for a lot of kids and a lot of families to be able to go through and get the good out of that diagnosis. But there's also 4 significant limiting factors that come with a label, a diagnosis, that do not help a child heal, that do not help a patient get better. And in fact, they do the exact opposite. Let's look into the 4 good and let's look into the 4 bad. The number 1 on the list of good things is access to services. That is a really good thing because without a diagnosis, without that proper code, it's hard, if not impossible, for a child to get the right support systems, the right therapies, the right assistance through an IEP, through a 504, through things like the school district. Second, health insurance coverage. Now, it's really hard for me to ever talk about health insurance and actually call it that because it has nothing to do with health. It won't pay for anything that actually addresses the root cause and gets you or your child healthier, but it will help with various therapies, equipment, and treatments that may be covered by the state. And awesomely, sometimes there's even nonprofits and things that will step up and serve certain children with certain challenges. Now, right here is where my heart really goes because we are so blessed to serve so many special needs children and families. And so many of these kids have real genetic challenges, not environmental perfect storm created ones, but real genetic challenges. And they really need these services and support. And getting that financial support from our community is absolutely what they should have. And in the same way, we're blessed to serve a lot of kids and families who have had traumatic brain injuries and other traumatic injuries, and they really need so much assistance. And that is really exhausting, both emotionally, but also financially for a lot of families. So I really love reason number 2, that a diagnosis and a label can actually help serve a child and a family in a really positive way. Number 3 is legitimacy and validation. It can be exhausting explaining your scenario to so many families. When your child is still going through and maybe healing from some of the raging bull, the sensory, the drunken bull, the disconnection sort of things, it can be hard to sit down and explain sensory, subluxation, nervous system dysregulation, or maybe you do want just the diagnostic criteria to kind of summarize the conversation for you so you don't have to re-explain to every new parent, to every new teacher, to every new provider, hey, here's what my child is going through. So there's some help there with number 3. And number 4, we really love this one too. We do a lot of this through our practice and through PX Docs. You can find structured support groups around certain challenges, seizures and epilepsy, autism, ADHD. It's really important that families whose children or people who have these challenges themselves have a support group that is truly compassionate, empathetic, understanding, and helpful because they're literally walking in those same shoes. So these diagnostic criteria, these labels can be helpful in getting those 4 things, including that support group access for certain kids and certain families. And these are the 4 things we want to lean on and we want to pull from this diagnostic world that we're all living in, whether we like it or not, and get the most out of. But there's also 4 that are not good. There's 4 that really tick me off. There's 4 that we really try and sit down knee to knee, heart to heart with not just parents and patients, but we actually sit down and we talk to our teens and we talk to our kids and we let them know, hey, You are designed to be healthy. You are designed to heal. You are designed to be awesome in your very awesomely designed by God unique way. You can heal. You can overcome all sorts of challenges that all sorts of other doctors on the other side of the fence are probably going to tell you that you can't. And so there's 4 ways that an identity, that a label, already getting into it, that a label and a diagnosis can actually limit a child or limit a patient. And number 1 is that identity shift to I'm broken. See, the medical system is built on a wildly outdated, super dogmatic, and weak, it's not updated with science. They're based upon the genetic theory that things like autism, things like ADHD, things like anxiety, and things like autoimmune conditions are just fully genetic. Now, if you play that out, genetic is a nice fancy word. Oh, that's what that is. No, that's a way to say we don't have any responsibility over our own health. Because if we can just blame our DNA, then we don't have to blame our lifestyle. We don't have to blame our choices, right? So if we look at heart disease, if we look at obesity, that's a very important conversation to get people off of the victim mentality. I'm broken. This is genetic. I have no control over a bus. Because you don't get them on that bus, you can't get them on the healing bus. It's no different for our kids. If they sit down and have a psychiatrist, a pediatrician, or a neurologist say to them, oh, you have ADHD, you have anxiety, you have depression. What if that now becomes their identity? If they are struggling with those things, we actually know that their nervous system is dysregulated and disconnected at that point, because that's actually the root cause of it. So it's going to be even easier for them to adhere to this identity, create a fixed mindset, and have a lowered belief in their ability to heal, to thrive, to get better, and to live the best life they possibly can. So this is BS. This is not fair. This is the antithesis of what we do in our practice. We do not label our patients. They already have a name. That's the one their parents gave them. That's the one we're sticking with. We don't see Owen as Owen, you're autistic. We see Owen, you're awesome. You love this. You do this. Let's create more of this. We see Owen as you've got a multifactorial root cause of autism. We know that. That's called the perfect storm. We have a multifactorial understanding of the neurophysiological disconnections and dysregulation. We can address that and get you better. But you're not Owen who's autistic. You're Owen. And you're here, homie, and we're going to help you get less of the challenges and more of your awesomeness. And at the end of that, the world gets more Owen. And that's a really freaking great way to address this. And it's a really different way than saying, Owen's autistic, that's now his label, that's his identity, that's fixed, he can't get better, there's nothing he could improve. That's not how the neurophysiology behind this works, and that's not how our perspective and our philosophy behind any of this works either. So the identity shift to broken is reason number 1. We're not the biggest fans entirely of labels and diagnoses. And number 2 is victim mentality. Labels can unintentionally teach kids. This is kind of like a close cousin to number 1. It honestly, unintentionally, sometimes I feel like definitely the medical system very intentionally wants to teach children to expect less of themselves, to assume that they can't change, and to focus on others and outside influences for solutions. Oh, this is just how I am. I need this medication. This is just how I am. I need Red Bull. This is just how I am. I'm going to be negative. This is just how I am. I'm going to be gloomy because remember, I have a genetic neurotransmitter imbalance. Run a test for it then, medical system. If you're going to tell children that they genetically are broken and have chemical imbalances that they can't do anything about, could you just take a moment once, conventional medicine, to prove it to us and put it on a test and show us the science behind that theory? Because you haven't. So this whole system lives on limiting, giving kids this victim mentality, giving patients this victim mentality so they build dependency on the medical system and medications. And that's number 3, the medication dependency cycle. This diagnosis often punches that ticket to, well, I'm broken, this is me, this is how I am, but ho-ho, if I just go to the pharmacy on the regular or get it shipped to me, and then my insurance will cover it, because isn't it funny that health insurance will cover things that keep you sick, but they don't cover anything that makes you healthy, like chiropractic care or gym membership or organic food or taking supplements and vitamins that actually help you heal, because things like vitamin D and going for a walk have been proven to be so much more effective against depression than SSRIs. So why is the pharmaceutical billion-dollar profit industry covered when the supermarket organic section and getting outside in the sun isn't, because they can't make money from the latter and they make billions from the former. So the diagnosis, the label, the medication dependency is built into the system. And it's why we have the most sick generation of kids, parents, and grandparents than ever. I can say this one without saying it. You already know it. But it's right there smack on the surface. If this were the best system to get us healthy, if this was working, we'd be the healthiest country, the healthiest generation ever, because we take more medications than ever, and yet we have more chronic illness, more diagnoses, and more labels than ever. Because of what we're teaching with these last 3 to 4 points, the system is built upon getting its hooks into you, getting kids and families to think that they're broken. It's all genetic. They can't do anything about it except get those medications and become hooked on them. And it narrows, number 4, limitation of a diagnosis and a label. It narrows your lens, and it narrows what you look out for help. If you're really buying into that, I'm broken, I need this medication just to get by mentality, you won't look after other natural, holistic treatments, solutions, and care options that actually address the root cause. If you and your family are tired of living by labels and diagnoses and having such limited options, take the first step out of that system by taking the first step in to learning more about nervous system focused root cause care known as Neurologically-Focused Chiropractic and the PX Docs Network. Send us a comment below, send us a DM, go to the link in our bio to learn more. Take the next step to learn more and gather more resources from us. We've got it. We can guide you out of that identity, that mentality, and that dependency. You can still hang on to the benefits in the right places, but we can help shift your perspective, which will move you towards decisions and actions, which will actually rebuild, restore health, create healing that is long-lasting, empowering, and allows your whole family to thrive and achieve a quality of life that you didn't even know was possible until you get unstuck from that medical system, which really starts and lives by this diagnostic, labels, limiting mentality, philosophy, and system. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Do you have a question that you would like to submit? Either send it to support@pxdocs.com with the subject Ask Dr. Tony, or head on over to our socials @PXDocs, where you can submit your question in our stories every single week. Every kid counts and every family counts, so let's leave no questions left unanswered. If you loved this episode and you want to help us reach more kids, we would so appreciate if you left a review and a rating on your favorite platform. God bless, be well. We'll see you on the next one.